Welcome to Papa's Workshop. Well, I finally decided what to do with the wasteboard on my CNC for newbie new carve. What I'm going to do is add a T-Track without putting the T-Track down to be able to use my glue and tape method to hold it in place. A little bit different, and I don't think I have ever seen this done before. So let's get started. Many of you know that I use the tape and glue method to hold many of my projects down, and it holds fantastic. I also use the auxiliary wasteboard, usually it's 1/4 of an inch, on the actual wasteboard to protect it when I'm carving all the way through. And I've had great success. So what better way to be able to go ahead and incorporate the T-Track without using the T-Tracks and an auxiliary wasteboard using the glue and tape method. So what I've got is 5/8 inch particle board that I'm going to cut into strips, and I'm going to make the T-slots to be able to fit the toilet bowl type bolts. Now this is a 1/4 inch bolt, and it's the 20 threads per inch, so that's why I call it the 1/4 20. But it has this type of flange at the bottom. Now this is made to be able to attach the toilet bowl to the flange on the floor. Now this works perfect in the situation that I want to be able to use it in. Now granted, I know this is not available everywhere, but if you don't have access to this, you can still use a 1/4 20 bolt or any size bolt that works for you and just cut the slot accordingly. Now I've had this little bitty small wasteboard, auxiliary wasteboard down now for quite a while, and it's worked extremely well, and it has had no opportunity to be able to give up. So I'm going to go ahead and release that and prepare this board with my new one, because I really do want to protect the original wasteboard. And this has been a really great experiment testing this out, and it's been fantastic. I just don't know any other way. So I think doing the T-slots the way I want to do it is going to work fantastic. So now I did a little bit of math to be able to figure out exactly what I need, and I'm going to be cutting the strips to be 2 13/16 inches wide, and I'm going to lay those out across my table, and it should take 12 of them, and that is what I'm going to use to cut the slots. Now anytime that you're cutting the MDF, or in this case the particle board, you certainly want to wear a mask. You do not want to breathe that dust and get that into your lungs. Now in addition to having the mask, I do have my central air system on that filters the entire room, but that's still not good enough. You need to have that mask on. The next step is to go ahead and lay out all 12 of these boards across the wasteboard. I want to make sure that they fit. The old saying, measure twice, cut once, definitely applies. I really don't want to waste a lot of time cutting the rabbit and not have it actually fit. That would not be a lot of fun. And with them all laid out, it looks like it's going to work perfect. So I'm real pleased with this. Now that I know this is all going to fit in here, and I think that's going to look really good, I'm going to go ahead and do some layout lines on the original wasteboard and get this set up to be able to put these in with my glue and tape method. Now I have a line across here that I actually put in with the machine itself. Now it's not real important at this point, but I'm still going to be able to use that line. So I'm going to measure down 5 inches. And that is going to be my starting point. So that is going to be my line where the front of the board is going to be. Next thing I want to do is make sure that I clean the wasteboard really good so that the tape is going to stick. Now it's time to pull the machine out so that I can get to the back, because I really can't even reach back there to get to everything. Since I have the machine pulled out, I'm giving it a good cleaning all the way around, because when it's in that little cubby hole, I can have access to the front, but I really don't have good access to the entire machine. So this is a good opportunity. Now I have a second line that runs along the y-axis, and this also was put in with the machine itself. Now I'm going to measure over 1.25 inches, and that is going to be my starting point. Measure it there. Same thing on the back side. Now if you decide to do this to your machine, realize that these measurements are going to be different. So this will actually go right into this point, following along this line down here at the bottom, and this line running on the y-axis. Now before I can attach this, I need to put my rabbet joint in right here. So I'm going to take this over to the router table and put that rabbet in there. The glue that I'm going to be using today is the Starbond medium glue. Now I'm going to have a link in the description below so that you can get a 15% discount off of this glue. Now I wanted to show you on the rabbet joint. This is all that's really needed. It's a very small rabbet joint, and this will fit right in like that. Of course, it'll be turned over, and then the other half of it will be on the other piece. But the beauty of this system is that if any of these pieces become damaged, I can just swap it out and put a new piece in. Now, on the first piece and the last piece, I only need this rabbet on one side. The rest of the pieces will get this rabbet joint on both sides. So let me finish this up now. Now I'm not given the actual dimensions that I'm using on the rabbet because every bolt is going to be a little bit different. I'm using these toilet bowl mounting bolts, and they're going to be different than a regular 1/4-20 bolt should you decide to use that, or if you decide to use a different size bolt. You're going to have to measure that on your own to be able to get the correct measurement. But the bottom line is, it is a very small amount that actually has to be cut. And here's a close-up of the finished joint on how it is actually, how it looks. It's not much cut at all. Now comes the fun part. I get to put the tape down onto the strip of wood itself, the full length. It needs to be fairly close to being in the center, but if it varies a little bit, not a big deal. And then once the tape is on there, then I'll put the tape on the wasteboard the same way. Now I do have a reference line that I put onto the wasteboard so I know exactly where to put the tape. Now it's time to put down the glue. All it takes is a very small amount. I'm just putting one little thin bead of glue down the full length of the tape. Now you have a little bit of working time so you don't have to rush, and once that is down, then I'll take and spray the accelerator onto the board itself. To put this first piece into position, remember that reference line that I drew on the y-axis? Well, that is the line that I'm actually using to put this in place. Now it's very critical to have that front edge in place, then using the y-axis line that I drew and put it right where it needs to be. Once that's done, I just push it down in place and it's secured. It takes just a matter of moments. To put the next piece and all the rest of the pieces, I'm using the bolts themselves as a spacer. So I just put one bolt at the front edge and another bolt at the back edge, and that's the guide. Now I am going to go ahead and put a reference line there so that I know exactly where I want the tape to go down. But that's the only reason that I need the reference line. So I just have just a little line is all I need there. The rest of this process is exactly the same. The tape will go onto my strip of wood, and then a second piece of tape will go onto the wasteboard itself, using that reference line as a guide. Then you put down that one bead of glue from the front edge all the way to the back, spray the board with the accelerator, and put it in place, using the bolts as the alignment tool to be able to make sure that your spacing is correct. I'm going to go ahead and continue this process and move all the way across the entire wasteboard, and then I'll show you what it looks like in the end. I'm not going to bore you with each and every strip. And now for the last piece, and the big question is, will it fit? Did all my math work out just right? Yes, it did. All I need to do is just go ahead and put the tape on this last piece and finish it up. Oh, and yes, I did check it before I put the glue and the tape down, because I certainly wouldn't want all of that going on and this piece not fit. Again, measure twice, cut once, and it's a lot easier. Well, after doing 11 of these strips, it's a really nice feeling to be on number 12. I'm glad that I'm actually putting in the last strip and to be able to call this project finished here very quickly. But, you know, all in all, it's not a difficult process to do that. It's just a little repetitive. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show the installation of this last strip, because I'm betting that there's a lot of you out there that want to see this last strip go in and see if it actually fits. So leave me a comment down below if this was probably the most important strip to see go down. But as you can see, it does fit. And it fits perfectly. It drops right in place. The bolts are using as a spacer, and it's working out great. I'm just going to go ahead and pull the bolts out, push it down in place, and that will be the last strip installed. Now, I'm not a big fan of having a full grid on my wasteboard, but I do like to have a reference line on my y-axis and my x-axis. So I'm using a pencil attached to the router to be able to draw that line. That way I know that it's 100% square to the machine itself. And that's certainly something that you do not get with the pre-printed grid lines on a wasteboard. You actually have to use the machine to be able to do it. And now this is a close-up of the line, and this is really all the reference lines that I need to be able to do any project that I want to be able to carve. To be able to test out the bolts, yep, they work. They slide in exactly the way that they need to, and that's going to be the same on each and every slot. That's the reason that I use the bolts themselves as my guides. That's the best way to be able to do it. Now, just as a reminder, this is the actual bolt package that I use for this project, but you can use anything that works for you. Hi everyone, thank you for watching my video today. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below and the little bell next to it so you'll be notified on the different videos that I upload. Also, check out the videos over here to be able to stay up to date on the happenings in my shop. So again, thank you for watching my videos.